Hi, everybody, and welcome to another week of the United States of a Movie podcast. Yes, it's a Monday. Now it's a fun day because we get to talk about movies. Because here on this podcast, we are trying to answer a question that, to be honest, we thought would be impossible. Can we define each state in the United States by just one movie? And as impossible as it seemed, we've only got 4 to go. This is crazy, guys. We've been on this adventure now for over a year. We're closing in on the finish line. My name is Ollie Pettigrew. I love movies, and I've found 2 guys that love movies just as much, if not more, than I do. Let's welcome them back to the show and just get started on 3 fantastic movies. Ryan Sandler, buddy, welcome back.
Great to be here. What a wonderful week for 3 very, very different movies that we all picked.
Different. Could not have been more different. I didn't expect so much variety from the state of Indiana. We got some great movies on this week. Great choices by you guys as well. Let's also welcome back Will, who is currently, as always, sitting in the middle of his video store in the middle of Hollywood. Will, welcome back.
Great to be here. And I think the rule is once we've covered all the states, we get to rule the United States, right? I think that's legally binding.
That's pretty much
how it works.
I think that's how it works.
That's how I've read the Constitution. That's pretty much how it goes. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the state that we are doing is Indiana. Things that I discovered this week is that Hoosiers is not a team. Hoosiers is how you refer to people from Indiana, and that, according to that movie, people from Indiana are assholes. It's like, how mean was everyone from Indiana in the movie Hoosiers? I'm sorry, but like, what?
Not very welcoming at all.
No.
To anybody who's like remotely an outsider.
Just are you from Indiana? Fuck you. Do you not like basketball? Go fuck yourself. That's the movie Hoosiers.
Right. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. It gave off a lot of like Friday Night Lights energy, or
yes,
Remember the Titans, that kind of thing.
Yes,
but I think this movie maybe did it first.
I think so. I mean, it got nominated for Oscars. You know what I mean? It's like did it?
Yeah,
not?
It did. And I think we'll talk about when we get into the movie, because I was reading up on the behind the scenes of this movie, and it's a little crazy.
For like Hoosiers, by the way, this is one of those weeks where I've completely lost track about who picked which. See?
You picked Hoosiers, Will, I think.
Oh, it might have been me, because we all agreed on the movies pretty
honestly,
quick.
You know what? You're right. Now, what often happens when it comes to us picking our movies is the state gets selected, then we get on our group chat and we start going, oh, what about this movie? Oh, what about this movie? Whereas this case, we kind of all fell into all of these movies and all collectively agreed at the same time. So you know what? You're right. We all picked all 3 movies. So, okay, one of the movies we had was Hoosiers, which is the 1986 movie. I'd never seen it. I don't think
I'd never seen it either.
Me neither.
Familiar with it, but never really watched it.
So it's the Gene Hackman, famously, and I've seen the poster. I've seen it on my queue forever. I've just never put it on. And kind of like what you're saying, Ryan, is like of all those other movies that we've seen, some of which we've had on the podcast, be it the Remember the Titans or the Friday Night Lights or the Any Given Sundays or whatever, is that this probably got there kind of quicker.
I must admit, going into this movie, my stupid doo-doo dumb brain thought this was a hockey movie, but then I mixed that up with Slapshot. I don't know why. I'm like, oh right, Indiana basketball. Of course. How foolish of me.
I didn't know that Indiana basketball was a thing. So it seems that in Indiana, basketball is regarded much like high school football is regarded here in Texas. It is what you do. Yeah. And it went, honestly, this movie, it didn't feel like an 80s movie at all. You know what I mean? It was made in 1986. I would have thought that it was made in the 50s had not Gene Hackman been in the movie.
Yeah, it definitely has that similar vibe, almost like a Badlands kind of thing, like the way it's shot, the way it felt. And I must admit, everything I know about Indiana basketball, I learned from watching Parks and Recreation. So I very, very, very minimal amount.
It was a good movie. You know what surprised me was Dennis Hopper showing up in this movie.
Yeah. I think I said it on the thread. Like, I knew he was in it because you see it in the credits at the beginning. I'm like, oh, cool. But even when he shows up, I'm like, oh, that's him. I didn't clock it at first. He's doing such a phenomenal job as
Him.
an alcoholic.
As
Yeah.
Dennis Hopper.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
Dennis Hopper prior to shooting. Yeah.
As Mrs. was saying throughout the entire thing, she's like, "There's no acting going on here." Like later on in the movie, he's in rehab, and they go, "No, that's just Dennis Hopper in rehab."
Yeah.
They just we just put the movie like they just shot it from there. But I noticed that like this movie, like all three of our movies, we've got a movie where a guy goes to Indiana and gets outed as a former irresponsible basketball coach. You got another guy that goes to Indiana and gets outed as a former assassin for the mob, and you get somebody else who's in Indiana and gets outed as being gay.
Yeah.
Like there were themes.
Which is all pretty much the same thing when you
Yeah.
think about it.
It's
you
like
know?
our first California episode where we did Heat, Ambulance, and Point Break. The overlap is incredible. Basically the same movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, so we did Hoosiers, and I think honestly, we would have probably been shot if we hadn't have done Hoosiers. I think it is the I believe it's the national anthem of Indiana or something like that.
We're already probably not welcome in Indiana just based on Hoosiers. So
yeah.
When you pull up the trivia on the frequently asked questions on this movie, the first one is, what is a Hoosier? which I admittedly had to look up because they don't mention it anywhere. The name of the team is it's what's the name of their basketball team?
The Fightin' Whiteys. I don't know. I think I'm 90% sure.
It was the Milan high school team. Yeah, I don't even remember.
I was close.
Yeah,
but it wasn't. I thought the name of the going into it. I thought the name of the team was the Hoosiers.
Me too.
Yeah, same.
Right.
It's like, oh, Hoosiers. Oh, I guess it's a famous team, like from the Hoosier High School. Like that's what I mean. Did anyone else know that people from Indiana are called Hoosiers until?
Not until I looked up the trivia for this film. No.
Nope.
I suppose Indianians sounds stupid, so I guess they went with Hoosiers. So I guess we're cool.
Sounds so much better. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Gene Hackman, Dennis Hopper. I mean, Jerry Goldsmith's out there, you know, giving a bit of a theme. Is like
very good.
It's kind of like Ryan said, is that as it opened up, it feels a lot older. It felt like Badlands. I know exactly what you mean. Those opening couple of shots where he's sort of road tripping into Indiana, and every time he drives past a farm, someone's playing basketball. You know, it kind of very much gives you a sort of, it feels it out. But it's shot old. It feels old. It's very classic. It doesn't play any games or anything like that. It's just, it is what it is, but it's telling. And I think it's why these movies or these stories are always interesting, is when they do tell an actual true story. You know, I mean, like, granted, it's like this teeny tiny small 1954 state championship. You know, that's kind of weird for me to watch. Is like, everyone's like, oh man, he hasn't coached for 12 years. He goes, yeah, I was in the Navy. Yeah, during World War II. The guy fought in World War II.
Right.
And they're like, oh, you haven't been playing basketball? Yeah, motherfucker, I was protecting your freedoms.
Well, to be fair, he was playing basketball in the war. That was,
he was a Navy petty officer. You know what I mean? I found that so bizarre. And like, he turns up. Okay, we'll get to the other movies in a sec. But like, he turns up. His buddy's doing him a favor, and like, no one could be any meaner to this guy.
everyone.
Like, everyone is mean. There's the teacher that's looking after the high school, the best guy that plays in the high school that doesn't want to play, and she goes, you can't let him play. He goes, okay, I wasn't going to ask. And she's like, fuck you. And I was like, I wasn't going to do anything.
Even the next interaction they have where he's like, listen, I think we got off on the wrong foot. She's like, you're goddamn right we did. Go fuck yourself. Just keep going. Like, all right, I will. I sure hope they kiss.
she stops short of pulling a knife on him, and you're just like, what is going on?
And then he gets pulled into like the meeting when there's like 60 guys all just going, by the way, this is how you're going to coach the team. And if not, fuck you. And I'm saying, it's the worst. Like, it didn't make me want to go to Indiana.
They are so invested in this high school basketball team. Again, it's very much reminiscent of like a Friday Night Lights, because it's like the town is very small and bad gas travels fast. I think there's maybe like 50 people in this town. But how, like, once they get into the basketball of it, I mean, it's a very familiar tropey kind of film, but I think this was like the first iteration of that. Maybe unless Bad News Bears came out before this, I don't know.
No, it definitely did. I mean, because like I said, this is 86, but it just feels like it's the original. I mean, it's probably around the same time as Rudy and stuff like that. The thing about it is, though, is I did find it kind of funny, and I did definitely text it to you guys, is this movie needs more shots of a basketball going into a hoop.
Yeah.
Because so I just watched Hustle last night. Now, if you haven't watched that, it's really good. It's a Adam Sandler movie on Netflix. And it's like it's produced by LeBron James, and so it's absolutely filled to the brim with actual basketball players. And it tells a really, really great this kind of story, but it's like a guy. It's basically Adam discovers a player from Spain and brings him into the combine. That is the movie. I've watched it twice. I highly, highly
So
recommend
it's
it.
like The Scout with Albert Brooks,
I
but
guess.
basketball.
But I'm watching that, and it's very, very, very well shot. It's from
Mm.
people that understand how to shoot basketball, and it's also got actual basketball players killing it. Now I'm watching Hoosiers, and it feels like these guys could play basketball. They've clearly got actual basketball players to act. But the thing is, it's 1950s, and it's white guys, so
Yeah.
it's all just 2 points. 2 points, you know.
I
lay
think
up.
as yeah, all of
It's not very
them.
dynamic, you know what I mean?
It was so much so that it was much like Dead Poet Society. It was very difficult to tell
hmm
the characters apart, especially when the other teams were involved. Except for the one very short kid that they keep making a point to say how tiny he is,
Yeah, and he does like his little underarm.
which threw me. I was like, no,
Yeah, that was,
no.
that was amazing. I did have a Google because Mrs. and I mean, I you know, and it goes. Let's just be honest. It's probably realistic for the 50s and realistic as a like you know as a breakdown of who lives in Indiana. But it was very much like three really white movies, like aggressively white, which is why like I did have a good giggle when we got to the final of
Yeah.
Hoosiers, and finally like the other team
Right.
comes out and they've got three black players, and I go, oh, you're
Yeah.
screwed.
I was like, oh, they're
Yeah,
toast. They're
they're
toast.
done.
Well, because everything leading up to that, they're just playing other very white, teams in rural Indiana, and then
Yeah.
they come up against this team in the finals. I'm like, oh, they're done.
I
It's
was-
like
I was
the
like-
Harlem. It's like watching the Harlem Globetrotters play.
Yeah, no,
You're
I, is it,
right. Yeah.
I think
It's
it's
the Generals.
Like is it from Airplane or I think it's from the first Airplane movie where Ted Stryker he goes off with the Peace Corps and he's teaching these. He's in this
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
and
yeah.
like they're all like 6'5", and he throws
Yeah.
them, and in the background they're all dunking and stuff. And
Yeah.
I was just waiting for that to happen in Hoosiers, like the funnier version of the movie.
That would have been great if you see, because you see before the game starts, they're all like warming up or they're coming out and doing layups, and the other team just doing like 360 dunks and just insane shit.
I was like, is this the part of the movie where they discover you can actually dunk a basketball? And everyone just goes, oh.
The thing that threw me, I think, as I was even texting you guys, was you'd watch they would show one of the games, and it's like this very intense thing, and it's at half, like they're down, and it cuts to halftime, and it seems like they've been playing for hours, and the
Yeah.
score is like 15-10.
to 10.
I
Yeah.
don't understand, because like you were saying, it's constant shots of basketballs going in. You'd think that they would have hundreds and hundreds of points, but no, it's a very low scoring game.
Yeah,
But
and we all
I'm-
had the same question as well, which was when did the 3-point line become a thing in basketball?
Right.
I think I looked it up as 79, I want to say, something like that.
So anyway, just quickly, I think, to be honest, we are the three people in America, the only three people that haven't seen Hoosiers. Like my missus had seen Hoosiers. She goes, "Of course I've seen Hoosiers. I grew up in a house with three older brothers. I've seen every sports movie that's ever been made." So I'm like, all right, okay, fair point to you. But if you haven't seen Hoosiers, it tells the true story of Milan High School, the 1954 state championship, the Huskers. That's who they were, the Huskers. That's why they had an H. As they go on to win the state championship, they're a teeny tiny little school, and they're being coached by Gene Hackman, who, as I was saying earlier, has been off fighting the war, used to coach college, and as we eventually find out, they give us a little drip, 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 drip. They find out that pre-internet, but fortunately that teacher really hated him so much that she was able to do enough research to find an article that talks about the fact that he punched one of his players in the face back in the day. And that's the movie, basically.
Oh, okay. So
Wait.
this was my
You're
question.
like, that's what happened?
Well, I must have missed that because I was watching this on Tubi, so I had the ads and all that, and I was getting so frustrated with the ads. I sent you guys one,
Yeah.
like, which was if anybody watched Tubi, maybe you've had this experience where it's not just an ad; it will show you a car commercial inside of like a banner for that same car commercial, and then in the middle is like playing a random golf game. Not the beginning of a golf game. It just cuts right into the middle of the game for like 2 minutes, and I was like so frustrated. I was like, I don't understand what's going on.
Just the way the director intended.
I've watched a few of our movies on Tubi. They've always been pretty good about spacing their commercials. You were getting some random like shouldn't you be watching the US Open?
Yeah.
Right. I was getting that. And not only that, getting it pretty much every 10 minutes. It was breaking
that
in.
stinks. Yeah.
And so that part of his backstory might have been missed, and me being like just angry. Just so frustrated.
No, that was just him playing golf.
Oh.
You missed that part. That's all. I
That's
mean,
a very famous part of the movie.
Yeah,
Oh
exposition.
man,
For sure.
it becomes a golf movie for a
Someone
minute.
that plays
Yes.
golf. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I totally missed that part of his backstory.
to be
that
honest,
he punched a kid.
Yeah, it was not like I said. It's almost like frustrating. Is that even like I said, watching it with Mrs. They keep alluding to, but never quite like, come on, get to the point, get to the point, get to the point. And then it was just this bit where, again, teacher that hates him pulls out this article and kind of reads it. It's that bit that she was then going to read again, like when there was that they were meeting whether they were going to dismiss him from the team, and she gets up to sort of say it, and then doesn't say it. It was, and it's like I said, and then it's also just kind of like Ryan said, oh, I sure hope they kiss at one point, and they do, and it's just.
And I don't like it.
No, no. I was thinking, like, watching this movie, I'm like, maybe James Caan would have been a better fit as the main role. Like,
Jimmy
thinking like, just that had. I mean, don't get me wrong, Gene Hackman is fantastic in this movie, but there's just some kind of different edge that James Caan would bring. Like, again, just watching like Thief or something like that. There's just something.
Well, you believe James Caan would punch a kid in the face.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He does have that innate kind of like threat, whereas Gene Hackman. By the way, Ryan, I was loving all of your, wrong Gene Hackman quotes from this movie. Like you're bringing all the ones from like that Will Smith movie. Because you made a phone call.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Why did you blow up the gym? Because you made a free throw.
And your Crimson Tide ones as well. They were very entertaining. Like I said, because you're 100% right. Gene Hackman is a legend. I mean, I love Gene Hackman. I love Gene Hackman movies. He's done some absolute bangers. But once you said James Caan, I'm like, man, you're right.
Yeah. No, it would have made
better
more
casting.
sense. Yeah. And apparently I was reading up behind the scenes of this. I guess he was just a fucking nightmare behind the scenes. Like, did not want to be there. Fought with the director the entire way. The director, I don't know how much else the director did after this, but it seemed like he was traumatized by the experience of working with Hackman, who was like openly telling people, this movie's going to suck. This movie's going to flop. We might not have careers after this. Like, while they're filming.
I believe that he was in character, he's doing a pep talk like to his students. Yeah, I think I read that too. And then it was all shit until Dennis Hopper showed up and he like kind of calmed him down and he's like, just smoke some of this, bro.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued. So I didn't know this. I'm like, because this is like, so he did. This is the same director that did Rudy. Funny enough.
Makes sense. Okay,
yeah, I mean the thing is, but I'd say Rudy's a better movie, and I know that's probably 100%. Controversial.
No, that's 100%.
That's where he's got to get the ring into the mountain, into the lava.
Yes, that's the one. Yeah, 100%.
You're thinking of the Goonies. That's
oh shit.
But like, but yeah, I mean that's interesting. Because the thing is, like, I get it. I mean, I was so surprised when I read nominated for Oscars. I was like, what? Like. Really? Was it a slow year? I mean, I don't want to get on, like, I'm not getting on this movie for being a bad movie, but it's just a movie about basketball.
Well, 86, that's the year Top Gun came out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, wow, that's kind of crazy. Like,
same movie.
Same. Yeah. Man, because it feels like such an old-fashioned movie, and it's funny to think, like, Tony Scott's making movies around the same time that look like Top Gun. Yeah, this comes out and it just feels kind of, it's good, but it feels dusty.
It definitely does.
But is that kind of the point? You know what I mean? There was things that I did like, and I noticed that it was being shot by the looks of it actually in a school. You know what I mean? So there were shots where we went from the changing room through a corridor and then out onto the floor, and the crowd was there.
In one take, like really cool.
Some really nice sort of like subtle, so it wasn't being flashy. But it was doing its job well. And then you've got the Gene Hackman and you've got Dennis Hopper. I mean, you've got to give it to Dennis Hopper that he's almost in a completely different movie.
One of the bits I read is in the middle when he comes out, like stumbles onto the court drunk. Prior to that, he was like spinning around a bunch of times to make it really sell it. And he was also huffing glue in the parking lot.
That's the allegedly part.
Method. Yeah.
But it's like it's funny because he was playing like his drunk was insane.
Oh yeah.
It's funny because it goes all the way back to like our second episode, I think, was when we did Texas, and you brought Giant, Will, and none of us had seen it, but the way James Dean plays drunk at the end of Giant is apparently what like Hopper was going for, and I'm like, yes, because like James Dean could barely stand up, and then he passes out while giving a speech. Do you remember that?
I wonder if Dennis Hopper learned that from James Dean in Giant. Wasn't he? He was also in Giant. Right?
Wait a minute.
You're right. I think you're right.
He was like 10 years old. He was like a baby faced Dennis Hopper was in that movie, wasn't he? Right? Good God. Wow. That tells me
and
do this for a year
and the Gene Hackman's friend, who's the principal of the school, I believe he was also in Giant, but I can't remember the role.
Good
so we
Lord.
got two Giant.
He was
boys.
the Giant.
He was the Giant. I believe he played Andre.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm reading here. So writer-producer Angelo Pizzo talked about how Hackman was just causing problems when he arrived. He was in a foul mood. It had him called him the Black Cloud, complaining about everything, blow-ups on set, throwing jackets, fist fight. I wonder if he's like just getting into his character.
Maybe I was thinking like, is this the Bobby Knight story? Like,
yeah,
the coach who would famously wear red and throw chairs. Again, from what I know from Parks and Recreation.
Yeah. And then, oh my God, these are some great quotes. Okay, guys, this is fascinating. Hackman said, quote, "I just want you to be prepared for the fact this movie might get on a few screens here in Indiana, but it's going to end up in the dustbin of films that never made it. And the only people who will remember it are you two." I hope I forget it when my plane lands in Los Angeles. This is one of Gene Hackman's most iconic movies and roles.
And that's how Dakota Johnson was promoting Madam Web. Same thing.
You know what?
It's now look, it's a global phenomenon.
Look out for the Oscars this year.
Have you watched Madam Web?
Absolutely not.
I haven't. So, but thing is, all right. So I've listened.
I feel like I have.
I listened to the "How Did It Get Made" podcast.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
But then I was on a plane when I was like not watching a movie, but the person next to me was watching Madam Web. So I've watched the movie after listening to the podcast, but with the sound off. And I have to be honest, that I would recommend that is a good way to do it because it looks terrible. But I must be honest, 95% of that movie is CPR. It's just CPR.
Oh, ADR, yeah. Imagine, why don't they just recut it with like the bad lip reading team, just doing the entire film?
There you go.
And better movie ideas.
So another thing that I always say, like I sort of said when I was comparing it to Hustle, is that while, yes, we are joking about, it is very 50s style basketball, so it's just sort of layups and stuff like that, they were good basketball players. The kids, I would bet money that these are not actors who are, I bet these are actual basketball players who could act as opposed to the other way around. Because,
yeah, I mean, I was looking to see, like, you don't recognize any of them as actors at all. Like, I wasn't like, oh, that's so-and-so from this film or whatever. You don't really get that in any of these characters.
Well, it's kind of like you were saying, it was hard to sort of tell them apart. So I try and describe the different players to you, but honestly, it's the only way that really the only one player that really stands out is the player that's the best player. Oh, you're right. And the short guy. But so there's this whole sort of thing about the best player, like I said earlier, in the town that everyone regards as the best player, doesn't want to play. I just want to play ball.
Well, because his previous coach, who was like a father figure to him, passed away, right? So once
he
he
lost
was like
his parents,
yeah,
and so he's being kind of raised by the teacher that hates Gene.
He's the Adam Banks, if you will, of this basketball team. I kept thinking, I'm like, oh, this is just the Mighty Ducks, but there's so many like references. Like the DNA of this film is in so many other movies.
Yeah.
But this one feels like it. I know it's not, but it feels like the original version of it. Maybe because it's based on true story.
Strange.
Yeah.
I feel like this movie came through a time warp, made in the 50s, arrived in 1986, just got put on screen. I understand what Hackman is saying though. There's nothing special about this movie, but there is like something special about this movie to America. Americans love this movie. People from Indiana love this movie. And I'm like, okay, I mean, it's but I'm with Will. Rudy's better.
Yeah. I think it's literally I think it was Michael Bay's dad said to him once, if you want to be successful, you sell to middle America. And this
Mhm.
is like the movie that's the ultimate selling directly to middle America. It's not, it is a small town, it is rural, it is like, this is our community. We literally don't let anyone else in for any reason,
Mhm.
but then showing like, but everybody's got a heart of gold. And, once you get past that rough exterior,
Yeah,
you
Yeah.
it
have a
was.
perfectly mediocre basketball to watch.
See, this is okay. I want to get into it a little bit more because this movie consisted of, like I said, it's a 90-ish minute movie, 87 minutes of which is shots of a basketball going into a hoop. The other 3 minutes of the movie are
Or a
shots of
scoreboard.
of the of the school bus driving to the next game and a line
Uh,
of cars behind it.
right.
And I was like,
Mhm.
it's just the montage. I'm kind of like with Riders, I got kind of lost. As well, they're
Mhm.
playing lots of games, and I can tell that they are winning games, and people are happy about it. And 75,000 points have been scored, but every time we see a scoreboard, it's like 12
Right.
points.
Yeah. Well, I think also in high school basketball, they're only playing. I don't know. They're not playing. I can't imagine them being like 20-minute, 4 20-minute periods. They're probably only
Right.
playing for maybe 10 minutes. I don't know. But the fact that it was so low scoring, and again, I not knowing that the 3-pointer was not invented, so it was just 1 and 2 pointers, probably added to that. But it's just you get these montages of them scoring and scoring and scoring, and it would just cut to the scoreboard, and it's like 5 points.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of like Quidditch actually, where it's like you got the people that are scoring points, and then when you look at the final scoreboard, it's somebody scored the golden basket, and that gave us
Yeah.
50 points. Every 10 baskets equals 1 point normally.
Okay, now Ollie, you explain cricket, and I'm just gonna take a nap real quick. You guys have the floor.
You guys need to learn cricket because now that you guys are in the top
Why
eight.
do we need to learn? We're already the best at it. So I gotta learn it now? Nah.
If you guys accidentally win the 2020 the T20 World Cup, you as a
I'm gonna be
country.
so
Oh my
annoying
God.
about it. I'm
Cricket's
gonna be irritating
Dude,
about it.
cricket's just gonna take over. Pickleball, you're fucking out.
Pickleball's done. Get it out of here.
I'm astounded to read that this is Dennis Hopper's only Oscar nomination.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
He did Super Mario Brothers.
He did
This was the
Speed.
only one.
Oh yeah. He was a good King Koopa.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like in the movie, just like
Yeah.
in the game.
Dude, it's crazy to think that, like, I mean, his performance in this as, the alcoholic, and then Gene Hackman's like, because he was a former basketball star, and I believe his name was Shooter. Great.
Yeah, Shoot is his
Obviously.
nickname.
Known for his dribbles. And he, Gene Hackman's character, he's like, I need you to clean it up. I need an assistant coach because he knows the players, he knows the other teams, he knows the ins and outs of how this game and how this town works. And when he, does inevitably he cleans up for that first game, but he's like riddled with this anxiety, and you really see him going through these like withdrawals. It's so convincing seeing him portray alcoholism this way. It's
Well,
really
that's
wild.
again, and Mrs. was joking, but we're also at the same time not joking, and it's like going, oh, it's kind of sad because yes, he was notorious for just Dennis Hopper being crazy, and Dennis Hopper like that. That I think they could not have cast anyone better for I think understanding this because
Yeah, Robert Downey Jr. was too young.
right.
Sure.
Okay, harsh but fair.
Yeah.
Let's
Charlie
be
Sheen
honest.
was too young.
But yes, sad as all of those examples are, but yes, you're 100% right.
Yeah.
But like I said earlier about him being in a different movie, he is acting his balls off.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, man, when he's having withdrawals, I felt like, dude, have a drink. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like
I feel like I needed a drink. I was like, oh my
Mhm.
God, take the
Yeah.
edge off, man.
that bit
Wow.
where like Gene Hackman goes to see him and he just shoots a shotgun and just starts screaming drunkenly. And then we go inside his house and it's just got a bunch of shotgun holes in the ceiling and like this is where he lives. I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, are you
You for sure feel like he's gonna have like, because his son is on the team, and his son is like, disavowed his father. He doesn't approve of this. And you get that scene later on in the film where they find him just face down on the ice in like the
Yeah.
wilderness. Like, it's harrowing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's weird. And the thing is, it's like the plot of this movie is 3 lines long. It's such an uncomplicated movie.
Yeah.
It just is. Guy comes in from out of town. Town doesn't like him. He coached them to the state championship. There's no teeny tiny. You remember how like Friday Night Lights, remember how we said, I think one of the bits that stood out for all of us was the part where the star running back has screwed his knee, I think, or whatever it was. And he
Booby.
says goodbye to all the team and he's being super cool. And then he
Oh.
gets in the car and breaks.
Yeah.
And like we all broke too. Just like
Yeah.
that was an incredible sort of part of that movie. And it really brings you into to what this means. This movie, it never gets
the
that
closest the closest you get to that is, you know, Gene Hackman's interaction with Dennis Hopper when he's like, I need you to step up. He's like, promise me you won't get, because Gene Hackman's flying off the handle. He's getting thrown out of basically every single
Right.
game. Getting it into refs because they're all local and they just there's a lot of, you know, politics there. But he's like, you know, I need you to step up. He's like, I promise you I won't get thrown out of any more games. And what does he do? The exact opposite.
I do
But
like
to
that.
prove a point.
Yeah, I do like that he's like, throw me out of the game. What? Just throw me out of the game? It's like,
I was already going to.
Yeah.
your mother's a whore. Okay, you're out of here. But God, I'm just reading it like, okay, so I was talking about how it's like it just is straight up. They wanted to initially release the 2-hour 48-minute version.
No.
Oh my God,
No.
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 Absolutely not.
No. Can you
It's just
imagine?
40 minutes of a scoreboard ticking down.
Right.
Yeah, this movie did not. I mean, would you say this movie was 87 minutes? Or it was
Actually,
like
no, I
90
think
minutes?
it's 114 is the one
Okay.
that the studio insisted they cut it down to. So it was just over 2. It didn't feel like it. It did feel like a more of a 90-minute movie, though, didn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
But no,
I mean,
the
all
director
of these
says
movies
the audience
did.
got really cheated and robbed over the cuts. Were we though?
I don't think so.
Would they play like 6 more games? Like,
Just
Yeah. I think I would argue that actually maybe gave us a little too much movie. We could have trimmed a
scenes
little
that
bit more.
developed the budding romance were cut. I'm like, good. They were already
ugh,
too
that whole thing felt
Didn't
so like shoehorned
need
in.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that it doesn't help the near 20-year age gap between Gene Hackman and Barbara Hershey is already pretty
Yeah.
uncomfortable.
Mm.
She looked like she could be a student in this school. Like,
Yeah, she looked pretty young. I mean, I know she was, God, I don't know how old she was at the time, but she looked pretty young, like not too far removed from high school.
well, I mean, compared to Gene Hackman, who's looked old, you know, in
forever.
the 60s,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a tough, you know, a tough pairing to take down for sure.
But Dennis Hopper wasn't sure he wanted to play Shooter because he had just stopped drinking. Oh my God. Talk about timing.
Wow.
Ready to start this new phase of my acting career. Great. You're
And
gonna be a
after
drunk.
after this movie, he started drinking again.
Yeah. Man.
Jack Nicholson wanted to play Coach Dale. He wanted to play Coach Dale, but he was serving as a witness in a lawsuit which sidelined him for 6 months.
What's that movie?
Yeah.
As a witness for 6 months? Yeah. What
dude,
was?
good Lord.
what
No, he was
that?
he was in jury duty with Pauly Shore.
Oh.
But they were playing Witness on stage. They were doing the live stage version of Witness.
Witness 2. What was that subtitle?
Nicholson was playing the Lucas Haas character.
I
The
got
Witness
right.
2, Return of the Mennonites. Is that
Return of the Mennonites.
the Patrick H. Willems pitch?
Fantastic. Oh, so good.
Of the 8 actors who played Hickory Huskers, only one wasn't from Indiana. So, okay, so the thing is, though, I mean, the thing is, we were all feeling it. That, like, within the first 10 minutes of this movie starting, you're like,
Shit.
Yeah,
this
we
one.
know which movie's going to feel the most.
And this was the
Indiana.
third. I watched this movie third too. So, I mean, it's in the title and everything. Like, this is quintessentially so far dominating.
Well, considering none of us knew what Hoosiers meant until we actually watched the movie.
Yeah.
Like, we were like, oh.
I'm still not 100%.
Yeah, we
sure.
never explicitly said we know what we're doing. However many episodes we've done, 50 some odd, like, we're still figuring it out.
Yeah.
But
By
like,
the time we get to 200, we'll get there.
I mean, being honest, like, would you recommend people watch this movie?
I feel like I mean, that's a tough question. My short answer is yes.
Is kind of exactly where I am about it. Like, I think, like we've already said, I would recommend 5 other movies.
Yeah, Little Giants. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Little Giants, Mighty
Rudy,
Ducks.
even.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's just the thing, is that, like, you know, it didn't blow my socks off. I thought it was competently made. I thought, you know, like I said, there was some well done stuff here and there, but the romance felt, you know, ridiculous. It felt like it could have been half an hour shorter if you cut out all the montages.
Yeah.
You know, it kind of just was. And then there was the final. Okay, it was kind of subtle, but the ending. So the whole movie's done. We have like a kiss right at the end, and then we flash forward to the gym, and we hear him giving the speech that he'd given earlier in the background, and there's a kid, like a young kid playing basketball, and it just ends up with a shot of the winning team to show that they never won again. They just got that one state championship. But are we supposed to, in that moment, have thought
Assume they died?
that we've jumped into the future and that's Gene Hackman's kid? Is that what we're supposed to think? Because it was such a strange and arbitrary ending that I go, is that what they're trying to tell us?
And that kid is also 78 years old.
Yeah, but like, because
No.
he's giving that speech that we heard him give. So it's like, oh, he's still here. He's still coaching the same way. I guess maybe that's his kid. So he's made Indiana his home. Like I said, it didn't give us any. There was no like Ryan, you like those way a movie ends and it goes, this is what happened later. You know, like you like things to get wrapped up
sure
nicely.
Do. I like the movie to tell me what is happening in words.
Yeah,
words and text on screen.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked we also didn't get like you know, such and such went on to be a congressman and such died in Vietnam. Like,
right.
You know, there was nothing like that. I just took it as like it was literally the very next day or something, or maybe not
next season.
Day,
Like he's the
next season. I
inspiration
didn't think it was like that much of a time jump, because otherwise that would be hilarious if that's the only championship they won.
He gets picked up in a flying car.
That's what it seemed, because it went up and did a close-up. Now, usually any other, we'd have that sort of like the camera pulls out and you see state champ, state champ, state champs. I've seen other movies like that, you know, like Harlan USA. They do that when it's like the true story. Also, like, so Jerry Goldsmith, who is a legend, you know, doing this, can you remember the theme?
No.
But
to be fair, I can't really.
But I can remember Rudy. I can remember all these other, like, you know, Jerry Goldsmith's done some legendary
stuff. But it was good. I noticed
the Star Trek movies. Yeah,
I noticed while watching it that I was like, oh, the score, like, it feels very Jerry G, so to speak.
It was very him, but it wasn't standing out to me. Like, nothing about this movie like really stood out, which is
like it's some leftover tracks, and he's just like, oh, I'll just use it.
Yeah, this will be good. It at one point it sounded like another movie. This is interesting. I just saw this. So we were right. We were speculating these basketball players were very good. They were actually NCAA basketball players.
Oh, okay.
But 5 of them were suspended for 3 games for their real-life college teams because the NCAA determined that they had been paid to play basketball because they were in this movie. That is such bullshit. I'm glad that they've changed those rules. So in the world of NCAA, that you can now get paid because all of these kids being exploited. We're not going to get into it. But yes, because of this movie and it being released, 5 players were suspended from the NCAA because they technically got paid to play basketball.
That's what a stupid stipulation.
That is one of the stupidest things I've ever had in my entire life. That is, wow.
I mean, it doesn't make sense, though, that they were actual ball players. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what they were good. Yeah. I just slagged off Jerry Goldsmith's score, which got nominated.
Yeah, you piece of shit. Fuck you.
How dare you?
Yeah.
I just, the thing about it is
it's unmemorable. It's unremarkable, I guess you could say. He's still phenomenal in everything he does.
It's whatever he had left over from Star Trek: The Voyage Home, and he's just like, I don't know, use this.
I feel I'm just. I mean, we'll move on from this movie, but I just haven't quite been able to figure out or put I figure out why none of us have been really blown away. This movie got 91%, right? It got nominated for 2 Oscars. It is regarded as a classic.
I'll tell you why. I'll give you 2 reasons. Not gay enough and not enough violence.
Exactly.
I was trying to give you a segue so you can go on.
No, perfect. Absolutely perfect.
I gave you a road you could go.
I'm going to take it. I'm going to take the gayer road. That's what I'm going to do because all right, let's move on because it's just
it is. I mean,
this movie made $28 million. It made money. It got nominated. It's seen as a classic. But I guess its legend had preceded itself. We had all heard of it. None of us had seen it. And when we did finally see it, we're like, Oh.
But I think also we're not
Yeah.
looking at it through the lens of being like from Indiana either. Like maybe this movie is such an important film for the state and basketball in general.
Yeah, but not just the state. I mean, like right here, Hoosiers has been named by many publications as the best or one of the best sports movies ever made. I'd have it in my top 20.
Was that
Have-
written in the 80s or because they haven't seen Any Given Sunday? Like, come on.
Have they not seen Space Jam: A New Legacy? I mean, come on.
Tin Cup, man. I mean, I'd even put Happy Gilmore above this. You know what I
Sure.
mean? I don't know. I guess maybe, maybe like kind of what Will was saying, maybe we aren't middle America enough for this movie. Maybe
Yeah,
we're just a
yeah.
bit too highfalutin, California liberal elites.
keep thinking like it's crazy to me like this movie wasn't made in like the 60s or 70s.
Uh-huh.
Like it's so
It feels like a
bizarre
70s movie.
for
Yeah.
sure. Even still, like even now knowing that it's not, still thinking back on it, you're like, no, what? Come on.
Yeah.
Right.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
But that's, I think that is mostly a testament to Gene Hackman just being
Gene Hackman.
eternally elderly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of
Crotchety.
like someone would say, like I saw Morgan Freeman was celebrating his 89th birthday or something like that, and someone was like, "Are you kidding me? That guy's been 89 since he was 42
Yeah.
years old. That guy
He's got that fucking mouth out gene, man.
So let's bump over to another movie that also got an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress for the amazing Joan Cusack. Let's talk about 1997's In and Out, which I'm 90% sure I think was my choice. I think I jumped
so.
on this one. I remember loving this movie and watching it so many times, but it has genuinely been easily 20 years since I've seen this movie.
It's a movie I remember the trailer so vividly for some reason. And I think I saw this movie on a cruise ship, maybe, but I also hadn't seen it in 20 plus years.
I mean, I knew every moment, every beat, everything that was coming, but I was remembering it as it happened.
Yeah.
Like a scene was starting to go, oh yeah,
Yeah.
I remember this bit. But the thing is, like, it's. I mean, I'll tell you one thing. I forgot Wilford Brimley was in this movie. Who's just
Oh hell yeah, he is.
killing it.
All over it. Yeah.
I love Brimley. But the thing is, all right. First of all, Will, have you
And
seen
Debbie Reynolds, right? Is his mom?
Debbie, yeah. I had not seen this movie. This
Okay.
is a movie,
Oh.
but it's iconic to me because every time I went to the video store, it was like one of those video store stalwarts. Like I saw the cover a million times.
It's like
Seen the poster all over the place.
Yeah.
But the one thing that shocked me about this, I did not expect this to be so silly.
Yes.
Like I was expecting a completely different kind of movie. Like I thought it was going to be like a dramedy. Like I thought there would be some comedy, but mostly it's like, oh my God, how is this guy's life turned upside down by this? And it is,
Yeah.
but it's a much goofier version
It's
of that.
yes.
than
done in like
I
a
was
Fairly
expecting.
Brothers kind of tone.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
Like it is very silly.
It's very silly. You know what? And I'm okay. I'm really interested to get into this now, but because I want to really get Will's take on it in a 2024 sort of like mindset. Because when this came out in the 90s, it was a big deal. It was Hollywood trying to do, hey, it's okay to be gay.
We'll make one for you. Sure.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
With no actual gay people, granted.
Right.
But
Let's not go crazy now.
We'll make Kevin Kline gay. We'll make Tom Selleck gay. This ultimate Magnum PI's gay. But yeah, Will, I forgot too. Like I'm watching it, and at no point is there any oh no. At no point is there any like real tears. Like the only tears is Joan Cusack. Is everybody gay? Oh, she's just a treasure. But yeah, it's almost. Now here's my question. Does it take it too lightly?
Yeah, I think for the time period in the 90s, it was still it's a tough one, man. It's a tough one because it's poking a lot of fun at a touchy subject now. And like watching this movie in like the current climate, it's a tough like I don't know. It's
well, put this in your
one.
brain for a second. All right. Well, this is a sort of interesting. Put yourself in the 90s because this is quite interesting as well. Because 1994, we had Philadelphia. Okay, we had Tom Hanks win the Oscar at Philadelphia. Now, this movie is inspired by Tom Hanks's speech. When he gets up, he talks about his high school drama coach. So they come up with, well, what if, I love Matt Dillon, I think, is great casting.
Oh my God.
He's so
cast as
good.
90s Brad Pitt.
Dude.
Yeah.
The first 10 minutes of this movie, I thought I was watching Tropic Thunder.
Yes.
The fake award show, the fake movies, Glenn Close giving a shout out to Michael Douglas. Fantastic. Love it all.
And the idea, I told you guys, Steven Seagal getting nominated for what was the movie?
Snowball
in Hell. Yeah.
I was dying.
Which is better than any poster I could ever design.
Oh my God. But you got it.
And then it gives us clips from his always Forrest Gumpian movie.
Oh my God. It's so bad. But almost the whole, they give you the whole movie. It's like,
5 minutes into it, I'm like, what are they showing the entire movie and then nobody else's movie?
Oh my God, it's so bad. The movie ends with his friend in a wheelchair at the top of the stairs, and then you get the watermarked American flag, and he's just calling out. It's insane. And then he gives his speech. It's like, and he just ends it with, and he's gay.
Yeah.
Everyone, like, you could hear the Naked Gun like head clap like across the town. And you're like, oh no. But you're like, of course he is. Like, come on.
God, it was so funny that like that was the thing. Is right off the bat, it was so much funnier than I was expecting. And Matt Dillon, I mean, I think obviously he's doing Brad Pitt, but also there was a bit of like, I think he's also making some digs at Ethan Hawke, like a little bit the way he dressed, and especially the way he talked. I mean, because I've been watching some like the Before trilogy again, and I'm like, I think he's also getting in some like funny digs at Ethan Hawke, but it was so good. Like, and his girlfriend too, like the model was hilarious.
She's like
the anorexic model. Like that whole 90s thing too.
Yeah. Because Mrs. she came up in modeling in the 90s as well. She actually worked with a lot of these people very often. She'd go, oh yeah, I used to know that person. And she's very aware of this. And she was so 90s skinny. But they even make a joke about, no, I've got to do this and vomit.
Yeah, I got an audition. And she's smoking a cigarette in every scene that she's in. And am I wrong? And did she end up with Kevin Kline's brother at the end of this movie or something? Like,
I think so. Yeah.
And my favorite little bit, it's again, we're jumping way ahead, but like the whole thing with Matt Dillon, like, had always had a thing for Joan Cusack. Now, Joan Cusack has lost apparently a bunch of weight for this wedding, so she used to be bigger. But my favorite little bit, just right at the end of the movie, is they're there at the party, and he's force feeding Joan, like he's giving her more. Here, you have some more donut. He's just putting food in her mouth, like he's like, what the? It's this random sort of just undercurrent of like he just likes bigger girls.
and also with that relationship, she was a student teacher originally when she was
a teacher. He was a student.
Well, that doesn't help. I was trying to find some. Maybe,
I was wondering about that too.
It's okay.
That was kind of happening. I was like, I guess he's graduate. I don't know. I don't want to think about it.
Let's back it up. Let's back it up all the way. But you know what? The thing is, it is just light, and this movie is just fun and light. There is no like any sort of moment or controversy or anything is always diffused by a silly bit of humor. Like when he goes to his bachelor party, and all the guys
oh my God,
Streisand movies.
Oh my God.
And like she was too old for Funny Girl, and it sort of like devolves into a kind of like a silly
the slow turnaround that he has for that. And he's just like, what did you say? It's just like, and he leans into it. It's very funny. Yeah. But like the amount of brevity in this, but yeah, it's still like, it's not cringy, you know, it doesn't like lean into there wasn't parts of this where I felt like squirmy and uncomfortable, but I can see other films kind of, you know, evoking that feeling.
It's well, it kind of Dave is a movie that kind of feels like it, but Dave actually gets into it. You know, Dave gets into the actual serious part of, wait a minute, we've replaced the president. Wait a minute, you know, there's consequences. Whereas
there's the weight to it.
All the fun bits of Dave is the whole of In and Out.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like it never once, and I don't think it hurts the movie.
No,
I
it's
think
very sweet. It's very sweet, but
Mhm.
not saccharine, like we always
Right.
say. But everyone is so accepting, and I guess my question is did he just not realize he was gay? Like, because he was with Joan Cusack for 3 years and they've never, been intimate, right?
And I love that bit.
Mhm.
Never, and like even the fucking priest.
The priest.
He goes
Yeah.
to confession, and they've been to 3 weeks, and 3 years, and they've never had. Oh, he's gay. No,
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
gay.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm wondering is, like, at that time, like, did Kevin Kline, was he just that the character he's playing, was he just unaware of it, or what?
Well, it's just more like he's from small town. So it's in the imaginary town of Greenleaf, Indiana, where he is a teacher. He's just buttoned up. He's nice. He's well dressed. He's sweet. He loves his mum and dad. It's just
He's the coach of the
the
football team,
basketball
right?
team.
Basketball team.
Yeah. And so it's just he's never really had the chance to explore it.
Mm.
And so his relationship with Joan Cusack's been one of support. He's helped her on her journey. You know what I mean? It's like, you've seen it. The thing is, that is how it happens. I mean, to be honest, there are people I know where it's just like, I've seen this story play out where it's like,
Why did you point at us?
gestures at screen.
I'll have you know. No.
But like, I mean, in quite honesty, I've got some really good friends here in town that like, they didn't realize they were gay until like, they've had kids. They're in their 60s, and now they're very happily in a relationship. So, people's journeys are their own journey, and I think that this one, it leans into the small town Indiana of it. Of it's just everybody knowing everybody, kind of like
A journey of self-discovery.
right. And it's only when it's like Matt Dillon as an actor has kind of seen something in his in his teacher, sort of like that he's pulled out of it, that he didn't even see it until it's said. In the same way that when I love the bit where Tom Selleck kisses him, and like Kevin Kline does so much physical acting, like he does it, fights it, leans into it, wraps his leg around him, it's just pure comedy gold. You can't help but just have a good time watching this.
And Tom Selleck shaving his mustache for this movie.
Boo.
Yeah.
Do not like it. I just had he shown up to my set like that, I would have been like, get hair and makeup in here.
Yeah.
We're gonna glue a mustache.
I will never kiss you.
We need a lip merkin right now.
Absolutely. Ugh. No good.
One of my favorite bits where because things happen in the movie that aren't real. If you know what I mean. It's sometimes the movie just becomes a movie, and I think one of those cases is when he puts on the How to Be a
the
Man
tape. Yeah.
The How to Be a Man tape scene is one of my favorite bits, where it's just like he's
it's
almost like say manly stuff is
it's almost like a
you see
fever dream. Yeah, it's crazy.
What a lovely window decor. That was a trick. God damn it.
Yeah.
It was very evocative of that scene in the birdcage where Robin Williams is teaching Nathan Lane how to be more masculine,
Right.
It's so much so that movie is also referenced in this movie.
Yes. It is. Oh my God. But it's just filled, like, the cast is banger. I mean, Kevin Kline is just Kevin Kline, Joan Cusack, Matt Dillon, Debbie Reynolds, Wilford Brimley, Bob Newhart.
Oh my God.
The bit
Great.
where I texted you guys, I said I think one of the best line deliveries is where he has if he's a
homecoming teacher.
Sexual. Like he is so buttoned up and so afraid. Getting that word out is one of the best deliveries of the word homosexual in movie
easily
history.
Yeah. Nobody plays like stuttering or like just kind of like kind of anxiety that Bob Newhart does.
Stammering Newhart is the best Newhart.
Yeah, even in like Elf, like his line delivery, there's just something, I can't even tell you what it is about his line deliveries, but he nails it every time, and it's always funny, even when what he's saying is not necessarily funny. He knows how to sell it, and it's always great.
That man can deliver a line for sure. I also like
Yeah.
the actors playing his students. I think like Zach Orth was from
Mhm.
famously from like Wet Hot American Summer and a bunch of
Yes.
other stuff. And
Playing the same character pretty much.
exactly. Get McKinley Lane. Love it. But I mean, you get like the pockets of, you get that whole town feel. You know, you get his
Mhm.
students, you get his family, and but everyone is like, at first you get the reservation, but they're all still very like accepting of it. Like there's not a, like you were saying, there's not a ton of like friction in this. I mean, sure,
Well,
his
what friction there is comes from the school kind of firing him.
firing him for being gay, which is wild.
Yeah. So like, you know, that so that it does, right? But it never leans into that. It's even like even Kevin Kline, like the way that he's on stage kind of go, guys, it doesn't matter. That's the movie's approach to it. It's like, and they're like, oh, don't worry, we're gonna have this fun ending where Dillon's gonna turn up and give him an Oscar. You know what I mean? Which is great, and I love it.
And
By
that
the way,
was, did you read that was Kevin Kline?
that's
Yeah,
Kevin
okay,
Kline's
good.
Yes.
Oscar from Fiscal
Yeah.
Wonder. I love
Yeah.
that.
I brought this from home.
You guys want to
Yeah.
use it? But yeah, but the thing is, like I said earlier, I don't think it hurts the movie. Do you?
No,
I could
No.
see it.
no.
I could see it where they brought in the
I don't
drama
think
of
you
it.
could make this movie today.
No, I think people would go, "Come
How
on."
dare you? Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. It would have to be like kind of the movie I was expecting, like a dramatic comedy, you
Yeah.
know. It would have to be something like that because my first thought is when he's outed and he's in a small town, my first thought is
Pitchforks.
yeah, I'm like, is he safe? Like, is someone coming after him? Like that
Mhm.
was immediately my first, like, oh no, like there's potential danger here.
And you get his parents
Um,
showing up immediately after, and they're like, he's like, no,
Yeah,
it's not. I mean, it's not true, right? Like,
mhm.
ugh.
I love Wilford Brimley, like that bit where he tries to connect with him, and asking like,
After the wedding, right?
yeah, well, no,
Yeah.
it's
No, no.
like it's just where he's like, look, I'm trying here. I don't understand. Like, do you like show tunes or whatever he's doing? But I love that bit at the end. It's Brimley being Brimley. It's
Yeah.
where Bob Newhart is like going, well, the parents. This is just where he's just trying to find an excuse, and Wilford Brimley standing there goes, "Excuse me, I'm a parent." The way he stands up and says that gets me every time. Like it's just
Mhm.
that guy with that mustache, and like the guy is just unreal.
Just
How
overflowing with diabetes.
but how I could forget that he was in the movie. But yeah, to get
Yeah, and
Wilford Brimley and Debbie Reynolds as the mum and dad,
oh
that's a
god,
great
she's great.
choice.
If you
Yeah.
ever get a chance to see the Albert Brooks movie, was it just called Mother?
I don't
Where
know if
it's
I've
like
seen it.
he's like a struggling writer and he returns
Yes.
home and stays with
Mhm.
his mom to like reconnect, and it's a fantastic film. She's excellent in it. And there's a line in that movie where he's like, I love my mother and I love having sex with her. Just like fucking freak someone out. Remember that? But I love that scene in towards the end, like after the wedding is like completely fucking destroyed, and Joan Cusack just punches him right in the fucking face. And you get Tom Selleck getting all the footage. It's like, this is great because he's trying to further his career. But that scene with, Wilford Brimley and Kevin Kline, where he's so accepting, but he just still doesn't quite understand how it works. And he's
Doesn't have
like,
the
so
vocabulary.
are you getting a surgery for it? Like,
Yeah.
what's going on here?
It's
That's,
just so innocent. At
yeah.
the same time, he's trying so hard, but but that I kind of again goes back to that kind of the small town mentality.
Yeah.
It's just not something they'd ever thought of. And then
You
suddenly it
couldn't make
arrives in
this
town.
movie now unless it was set in the 90s. Like, there's just no way to really do it. Now, like everyone is
Yeah.
like a little more accepting now, or is it just, I don't know if it would be as the stigma around it wouldn't be as prominent. Not like the core to the film. It'd be a
I
tough one
mean,
to
just look at I
navigate.
mean, the thing is, it's just crazy to me. But 30 years in the future, I mean, look at where we are now.
Look how
Even
gay our movies are.
yeah, but also just like
Top Gun Maverick. I mean, come on.
yeah, that's the
Mhm.
gayest of them all. But no, like, in just the way that that's still in this country, you
Yeah.
know, it's still a fight and a battle that's going on. That there's still like, we're approaching an election where it's taking these rights away is something people are talking about, and I'm like, whereas you get to the late 90s, and this is like for me, I think where I always say the 90s was kind of like the peak of, oh man, we're gonna be okay. The Cold War's over. We defeated the fascism and the Nazis. We've got the internet. Wow, we're all gonna get on. And then 2001 happens, and then everything goes to shit. But it's like, but 97, it was like, guys, hey, look, we're gonna make a comedy movie about gay people, and it's okay. We're okay, right? Even Wilford Brimley says it's okay. Yay!
I mean, if he says it, sure.
Man, we're good.
Wilford Brimley, again, being the most masculine man who's ever masculine. I mean, that guy, if you know anything about that guy's real life, he was a real cowboy. Like, literally, like, wrangling cattle, skinning cattle, and all that. Like, he was the real deal. He was the guy who John Wayne always pretended to be, was Wilford Brimley. Like, that guy did rule.
I'm not familiar with his, I think the first thing he popped in was Close Encounters?
Cocoon?
Cocoon, that's
The
I'm sorry,
Thing.
I'm sorry.
The Thing was like his first.
Right,
I think,
there you go. Yeah.
That was like.
But I don't remember his like young, like earlier career.
What's
If he was
the
in
one with Jean-Claude Van Damme?
Oh, Hard Target, which has been my
Oh,
social
hell
media
yeah.
banner for
Will's
about 15 years now.
favorite gif is just Wilford Brimley riding away from a massive explosion.
With a bow and arrow on a horse.
And
Yeah.
I believe
yeah.
he was 43 in that movie. My exact age.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Another guy that's been 85 years old
Yeah,
since.
but does he have a
22.
podcast? No.
Yeah, he probably does.
Is
The
he still
Brimcast.
alive? Hard to say.
He rode off into the sunset, and that was the last we saw of Brimley.
Oh my
so for coming off Hoosiers, where I'm like, I could recommend a million movies that I would recommend ahead of it, even though it's a competently made movie. In and Out is a movie I recommend to everybody. Like, as soon as we saw In and Out was from Indiana, I immediately went, that's it, I'm doing that one. Like, I want it in immediately. I was like, oh my God, I remember loving that movie. So it's like,
it's still a fun one. Yeah. I mean, it is like, it's so lighthearted and it's so sweet and it's very, very funny. Like, I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't expecting the comedy in this to age very well. And I think it does, if you're watching it through the lens of this was the 90s, it's still a very, very funny film. And Kevin Kline is just crushing it in this. Like, so much though that you would think that as an actor, he was gay. Like, he just plays that.
Yeah.
I think for the longest time, I just assumed he was because of this movie. So convincing.
Dude, no, he's married to Phoebe Cates, man. He looked
She's
down.
a beard, bro.
Dude.
It's not real. It's not real, mate.
But like, I thought, like, Tom Selleck as well. I thought, like, they both play that sort of like convincing, like, oh, it's just I'm a well-dressed guy. I mean, to be honest, I mean, like, most of my friends thought I was gay for the longest time. Even my dad, I tell him
Still
I'm gay.
do.
Right? Like, yeah, yeah, but no shit. It's just like, oh, I always took it as a compliment. As it just means I'm nice and non-threatening to women.
Yeah, just don't shave your mustache.
Don't you dare.
That beard going on. But
you got to go with the full Wilford Brimley.
I wish. I don't know if I could just get that level of like weight.
The walrus?
No.
I
think I would just fall over. I'd be too top heavy. It's like Sam Elliott as well. Like,
ooh, that's another great one.
These guys I mean, how do they do that? Like they have mastered the art of the mustache. Like, as much as Adolf Hitler had the worst mustache and was the worst human being that ever worked. That's one side of mustaches. Yeah. These guys are the exact opposite of mustache. The opposite of Hitler.
Yeah, the America mustache.
Yeah.
Get yours today at usaofamovie.com.
Oh, can we start selling mustaches?
Please, let's start selling Brimley mustaches. Oh my God, that would be amazing. Anything else you guys want to talk about this movie? Because it's like, thing is, I would love to get more into it, but we do have another movie to talk about. But the fundamentals of it is it's just straight up comedy.
And it wraps everything up so neatly. Like, everyone gets theirs, and it's very sweet. We get the
bow, and then we get Macho Man at the end, and everyone's just dancing and having a good time. And like you said, any little thing was, Sonia's dancing with the brother, and
and the mother too. She has her closure after the wedding with her friends that are just all like being honest and forthcoming with one another.
Oh, that bit was.
Oh my God, the lady saying like, my husband has 3 balls. And it's
just lose their mind. Another shout out to Ray Finkel's mom from Ace Ventura in this movie is old lady number 3.
Oh yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah, they were
Played by
that's right. That bit with the ladies sitting around and having a dish was great. And then, but you're right. Like, Ryan, any little thread gets buttoned up.
all
Like,
of
for
it.
example, Demi Reynolds is like, you've got to give me a wedding. You know, I'm like crazy for this. It's like, I need this. And it's like, all right, well, you get the wedding with Wilford Brimley. You get to
Yeah,
have
that
your,
was very sweet. Yeah.
so it's like, because, you know, for a minute you're thinking that Kevin Kline and Tom Selleck are getting married. You know, they're doing each other sort of stuff. But like, you're like, oh no, that's even better. Like,
Yeah.
everything's good. You know what I mean? It's just, it doesn't, you know, change the world. It's not asking difficult questions. It is very light and fluffy, but sometimes that's what you want. You know, sometimes you
Yeah.
just want to watch a movie and have a good time.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
always want to have to get into the weeds of what does this mean for a society, or what does this
Yeah.
mean?
No, that's the next movie we're going to talk about.
Yeah, you're right.
Right. I'll just say what my last thought on it is I do recommend this movie to people. Be aware it's gonna be lighter and sillier than you're probably expecting for the subject matter. But if you go in with that knowledge, then I think you're gonna enjoy it. And I was pleasantly surprised, even in this 90s movie, we touched on it earlier, his buddies at the bachelor party were very much like, oh, okay, well, we'll just tailor it
Everyone's
around. Like he's
supportive.
there
Everyone
was
is
no
supportive
like
around him.
none of his buddies shunned him.
No,
Like,
not
you
at
know,
all.
like
Nothing.
so I give the movie high marks for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got. They didn't. Yeah, doesn't go for any of that low hanging fruit. It just goes. Yeah, well,
You're
what
right.
if everyone
Yeah,
just doesn't suck?
like we said, the only friction is Bob Newhart meekly having to fire him for being gay and can't
Right.
say
For being a
hum.
And the movie makes it clear that they're like the school board and that they're idiots. Like they're the bad guys. So
That other teacher trying to keep giving his speech.
yeah, yeah. So I won the best teacher award. Yeah.
So you know what? It's like, yeah, watch this movie and then
Yeah.
watch Dave and then watch A Fish Called Wanda. Go on a Kevin Kline triple feature.
Oh man,
and-
you'll have a great day.
Yeah, you have the best damn day of your week right there. But okay,
And throw in Wild Wild West if you're feeling saucy.
I've never watched that. I'm like,
Oh man, we've got to. It's really bad. I love it.
I don't like.
I know the story of the famous spider at the end. I know why.
Right.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
There.
I don't remember it being a bad movie. I remember enjoying it when I was younger.
It
Like,
looks fun. Like it's the same director as Men in Black, right?
is it Barry Sonnenfeld?
Yeah, it's
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll say real quick about it. It's not as bad as like its reputation set. It's like Geely. If you see Geely, you're like, well, that's not the worst thing I've ever seen. Like, it's not amazing, but this has the reputation of being like the worst thing ever.
Gobble,
and yeah, there's bad parts, trust me. But
yes, there are.
but like Wild Wild West, you see it, you're like, all right, this is more on the level of like a Men in Black 2. Like it's like,
Right.
this is incredible. But the reaction to it is just hilarious.
But you get Spider Kenneth Branagh in it.
Yeah, and I
you do
the song. Wow,
Yeah.
wow.
Oh, the song,
Yeah.
the music video is way better than the movie.
Banger,
I
absolute
love that
banger.
music video.
I used to love that.
Oh
I used
yeah,
to
it
night
was
at the club
Will
when I was
Smith
a
and
teen.
Cisco. Hell yeah.
Yeah,
I
that
dance
music
to it in the
video
clubs
rules.
currently.
Wait, and
just
Summer
have my
Heights in
AirPods
that
in.
movie. Oh, I have to see it.
Yeah, she is.
What am I doing? Oh my god, my
Yeah,
ultimate.
it's worth a watch. It's totally
it's
worth
not.
a watch.
I agree.
It won't
it's
be
not
your
as bad
favorite,
as-
but
yeah.
I
It
guess-
got Keanu into the Matrix, so that I mean,
so we have to be grateful to it.
Oh, is that what Will Smith chose to do Wild Wild West instead of The Matrix?
yes.
Oh, thank God.
Yep. So, thank you, Wild Wild West.
Yeah.
Blessings be upon us all. So yeah, look, In and Out, it's a banger. It really is. You're gonna have a good time. Yes, it is set in Indiana, mostly shot in New Jersey. But it's kind of what it does is well, he is a basketball coach, so we got basketball again in another movie, and it kind of gets into that kind of small town vibe kind of idea.
Yeah.
But there is one more movie that we're going to talk about, which was such a surprise when I saw it, and it's another one that I haven't seen in easily 15 years. I watched it once. I've always talked about it to Mrs. And I said, Mrs., I think you're going to like this movie. We watched it. She did really like this movie. Let's talk A History of Violence. And I love that I say that, and both the guys, if you're not watching, they both just nodded their heads and a yes.
Yeah,
let's
this
talk about
movie's pretty
this
good.
movie.
Dudes will hear that and say, "Hell yeah!"
Yeah.
Now, History of Violence, it's 2005 movie. I don't think I've seen it since, I reckon it was probably about 2010 when I saw it. It's a David Cronenberg movie. I haven't seen many Cronenberg movies. I think the first one I ever saw was actually Existenz.
Mm,
So I was on a bit of a Jude Law kick. I saw that movie in theaters. That was a
wow.
weird
That's
fucking movie. All I remember is
Yep.
them building a gun out of a guy's jaw and teeth, which is when things got really weird. But this movie, it's based off a graphic novel, and it stars Viggo Mortensen, Maria Bello, William Hurt, Ed Harris, great cast. And it's very, very sort of
And
unstated.
not Jesse Eisenberg,
No.
Right.
his son. It was like, was he unavailable? Like, I don't know. Just strong Jesse Eisenberg Social Network kind of
Yeah,
look.
that threw me.
Yeah.
Ashton Holmes.
Yeah.
But
But
yeah, let's talk this movie because I remember I watched this and I watched Eastern Promises back
Yeah.
to back.
great.
Because everyone was just talking about Cronenberg's work with Viggo Mortensen being absolute bangers. I remember Eastern Promises blowing my nuts off for being just amazing.
And that's just not the
The locker
the
room
Turkish
fight,
bath, yeah, the Turkish bath
or
scene.
the bath
Yeah,
fight. Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, I
that's
was
what it
telling
is.
Mrs. about that. You haven't seen it. Like, he's completely
Yeah.
naked. He's
Yeah.
like, that's such a brutal fight.
He does the
It's-
helicopter and like walks straight into it. Crazy.
I mean, listen, getting into a fight with a guy who looks like that normally would be terrifying.
Yeah.
Getting into a fight with a naked guy who looks like that is the most frightening thing I could ever imagine.
It
Oh,
was
when he does that thing with his
Oh, that, yeah.
Great.
He's a very unsettling guy.
Yeah.
But that's not the movie we're talking about.
No,
The
talking
one
about
we're
different
talking about
unsettling guy.
is a history of violence which takes place in another fictional small town of Millbrook, Indiana, where we meet this guy Tom. He's just this diner owner, and well, the movie starts with that great sort of one shot of the two guys at the motel.
Oh my God. I forgot. I've seen this movie so many times. I always forget about that cold open. It is fucking brutal.
Yeah, that's always the bit. Like, so you've got these two sort of like mob hitmen at a sort of motel, and it's sort of like who's that guy? It's not Lance Hendrickson. It's that guy.
It looks. I know. It looks exactly.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
him.
yeah.
Just two very Cronenberg-looking actors, if that makes sense. Like
almost like Cronenberg made them for the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good.
But like, yeah, so you get that great sort of cold open, which kind of sets up that we've got these two bad guys that just Stephen McHattie Smith is the guy we're talking about. You'd recognize him if you saw him. It's just one of those guys with that face, but like, but it just establishes these are bad guys and they're on the run and they kill people. They have no problem killing, and they roll into this small Indiana town where we've got Tom, who's just this nice guy, and we've just established him as this quiet dude that just have some pie and have some coffee. These guys roll into this and they start causing trouble. Suddenly a gun's been pulled and stuff goes crazy, like very, very quickly, but very genuinely. Like the violence in this, I tried to describe it to Mrs. Hey, it's like John Wick, but if it was real. So
Yeah,
like
very visceral.
Instead of him killing 60 people, he kills a few people, but he gets shot or stabbed or hurt, quite quickly. Like
the guy, he hits the guy with the coffee pot, gets stabbed in the foot,
Yep.
takes the gun, shoots the guy, explodes his fucking brain, and it's like for as violent as this way. Yeah, it's like there's not a ton of action or violence in this movie, but what you do get and see is so fucking visceral that any more would be too much.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, very quickly, but it's like Terrifier levels of gore, but for a fraction of a second instead.
Oh no! You said his word.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like like I remember even Mrs.
It's practical.
Like,
it's all practical.
It's a caved-in face.
Yeah.
You know, and it feels brutal.
But not in the way of like if you've seen Brawl in Cell Block 99, which is also all practical, but it's almost very, very comic booky. It's so great. Definitely watch that. But yeah, it sets off this string of things. This man is dubbed like a local hero, and he's on the news, and then these other people show up in town looking for him. Like claiming he's someone that he's not, or is he?
Well, it's interesting because it's so funny that we've got three really different movies, but there's overlap in all of them. Like In and Out, he gets outed and then the media comes to town and they won't drop the story.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happens in this case. And it's in the same way that, Will, you're talking about Hoosiers connecting, because it's like middle America. And so this guy protecting himself and the people around them with his Second Amendment rights makes him something of middle America hero. He becomes like a folk hero of this guy that did what needed to be done. And now he's regarded as an American hero, and the media can't get enough. But so now the media's getting out there. And then, like Ryan says, suddenly you get the scariest Ed Harris, walks into town and he goes, "Hey, Joey, can I get some pie, Joey?" And he's
the way he says it. Goddamn, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
And he takes his glasses off and he's got this like nasty scar, which you find out later
is turns out later that Viggo Mortensen gave to him while trying to dig his eye out with barbed wire.
Yeah.
Which,
oh my God.
How would you?
I know. It's just, that's what I mean. It's like, that's why everyone likes, it's the same like in John Wick with the fucking pencil.
I will say a testament to this movie. A lot of movies I've seen that are based off of graphic novels, and I've never read this graphic novel, I'm not familiar, but a lot of them just still feel like very graphic novel-y. And this one does too, because the script is pretty shit. It's not like the way the lines are delivered.
Thank you.
Acting is not good. Not good.
I want to talk about this. Thank God you brought that up, because I'm sitting there going, am I the only person thinking this?
It feels very comic booky, like almost like if the dialogue was taken directly from it, like Zack Snyder might do, but it still looks and feels like a grounded, raw, brutal film.
And it doesn't do so. A lot of like, you say Zack Snyder, a perfect example is that Zack Snyder, when he does something like 300 or Watchmen, is he takes it from the page, puts it on the screen and makes it feel like a graphic novel, whereas this feels like a movie. But it doesn't feel like a flashy movie. It feels almost like, apart from, so like I said, some nice camera tricks and some visceral violence, that sometimes it's also just being shot like a Hallmark movie. But yes,
it's very understated. Yeah,
that's the thing.
Especially for a Cronenberg film. Yeah.
Yes, but then I do want to talk about what you just brought up, Ryan, because I'm watching the movie for the second time, and so I'm watching it because I'm watching it with Mrs. And so I'm kind of watching how she's watching it, and I'm watching it going, is this dialogue shit? But like, but not. And then like the way it's shot,
it's stylized.
Yes. Everything it feels like a deliberate choice, because it must be.
Yeah,
it's
it has to be. Yeah,
and it's Viggo Mortensen.
Especially the scenes with the son at school and his, he's got this whole thing. He's picked on. He's a bit of an outcast, and he has, which is so insane to me. Like he has this moment in gym class where he catches a pop fly, and the guy whose ball he catches fucking loses it and has to pick on him in the locker room and calls him all sorts of terrible things that would make Kevin Kline blush. But like all that dialogue, it feels so stilted and rough and just dialogue-y.
Even that guy's character, the generic jock, he is so offended that he got shown up in a sporting situation by this other kid that he's like, well, now I have to make it my mission to destroy this guy.
Yeah, and then what happens? He gets his fucking ass beat.
Absolutely gets his ass handed to him by that kid. I was like, that was kind of an unexpected sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, like, Will, okay, what's your take on this whole stilted, understated approach? Like, do you find it as a deliberate choice as well?
It's definitely deliberate. I think it didn't stick out to me as much because I've never read the graphic novel, but I've read a zillion comics. So it read to me as more pulpy. And I think I was coming at it from that, as this is Cronenberg's pulp noir film. And so the stilted dialogue didn't really stick out to me as much. It was very arch, but I've seen a lot of movies like that. So I was kind of watching this being like, oh, okay, I know what Cronenberg's going for. I was just more, because I only saw this movie for the first time less than a year ago. And I bought it immediately on Blu-ray. I loved it so much. But I was just more shocked that this is like so normal for a Cronenberg movie.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, the people are normal. There's like nobody is putting their head into a TV set and fusing with it. Nobody is pulling a gun out from their stomach. Like nobody's committing any crimes in the future.
But it still has this like tense unease of being a
Yes.
Cronenberg movie. Like it still has that joie de vivre, you know?
It's such a strange. I mean, it's so I love that we're exploring this. I'm so glad because I felt like I was going crazy watching the movie because I've seen Eastern Promises. I'm like that movie's got that thing, and then you've seen The Fly, right? You know, it's like I've seen Existenz. I know this guy can pull all this stuff, and I'm watching this, and I go, did he go? All right, we're gonna do one take. You know what I mean? Like it's just like. But then Viggo Mortensen says he regards it as the best movie he's ever been in. I think like, he goes it's the best I've ever.
And that guy was in Hidalgo.
But I'm reading weird shit like this. Like, so I'm sure you guys probably saw this one, but during the shooting of the first bar scene with Ed Harris, Viggo Mortensen couldn't stop laughing, so they had to keep reshooting it. And as a result, for whatever reason, Ed Harris completed the scene not wearing any pants, so he's only in his underwear when he's sitting there. And Viggo Mortensen having to act serious while Ed Harris is sitting there in his underwear, and that's the scene, that's the take they use in the movie. It sounds like everyone was just having a weird day.
That's so odd. Cronenberg himself is such an interesting, weird guy because I'm not a super fan of his movies. Like I like The Fly. I'm not as hot on Videodrome as a lot of people are. I liked Existenz, but so I've liked the majority of his movies. I really like this one. But he is such an interesting dude in that he seems so normal. Obviously, he's very imaginative and then just does weird things in his career. Like he'll just pop up in Jason X as basically himself. And you know, and he'll just act another. He's in Star Trek Discovery again as kind of just himself. And he's just like, hi, I'm David Cronenberg. I'm also in the future. And how's it going? You know, it's so bizarre to me. He seems like such a fun guy. So I can imagine like working on his movies is probably like as dark and crazy as they are. It's probably fun to work on that set, you know. So clearly, you know, Ed Harris feels comfortable enough to not show up with pants. So, you know,
I tell you what, like one thing. So Mrs. I mean, like, well, to be honest, like everybody, especially after Lord of the Rings, but you know, Mrs. thinks Viggo Mortensen pretty sexy dude, especially as Aragorn, and she was like constantly throughout the movie just going, "What's with his hair, man? He's got the worst fucking hair."
He's got the hair of a Lego character.
Yeah. But the thing is, yes. I also feel like this is very much a choice because there's a really good bit where Tom becomes Joey.
Oh yeah.
It's a really subtle difference in just Viggo's way he sort of like speaks.
The line delivery.
The way he carries, but also then his hair's a bit different. But even then, this is like, oh, he's fixed his hair. Like,
yeah.
He's sexy now.
Yeah.
Well, again, going back to is it deliberate or not? Where it's like, yeah, I think the reason why he looks kind of off, why you know his hair's not right at Goofy, is because he's not really Tom. You know, this is all a front. And one thing I really do like about the movie is when I was watching it for the first time, I was like, well, of course he's going to end up being Joey in the assassin. Like, otherwise this isn't a movie,
right?
So, but the fact that the movie goes on for so long with like, but are we gonna say that this is mistaken identity? You know, I thought was really cool. I just really dug it,
and I like that scene at the shopping mall with Maria Bello, right? And the daughter, who again with the terrible dialogue this poor child had. But you get the interaction with her and Ed Harris where he, you know, says everything, and then even she's like, "What the fuck's going on?" The reveal that, you know, her faith in this whole relationship that they have, their two kids, and their whole life is a complete sham.
Well, that's, I mean, well, interesting, right? Is it a sham? Because like, it's like, I know what you were just saying there, Will, well, he's not really Tom, but the thing is, he has been. Had these guys never shown up in Indiana,
Sure, yeah.
Joey's in the past. Joey is this other guy. I mean, like I said, it's very, very John Wick. John Wick was an assassin until he met a woman and he just went off and he just became this guy, John, until they fucked with his dog. And so he killed everybody for 4 movies. Whereas in this case, it's the same vibe. He was this guy. He was a mafia killer. He was legendary for it, but he got enough. He went off. He just wanted the quiet life. And he's quite happy just making coffee and making pie until these guys come back and they force Joey back out.
Yeah.
And it's like, I love that bit, like, in he goes, all right, well, you know, we get a phone call with William Hurt. You recognize the voice, but you're not sure who it is until you see him. And then he just drives 1,000 miles. Like,
well, this is after, who know? Because
drives like day, night, like
Baltimore? Where does he drive to? I forget.
He's Philly. They're from Philly.
Okay, right.
So Indiana.
But before that, he kills Ed Harris and his 2 goons on his front lawn. And the cops come and they're like, what's going on here, man?
Yeah.
And his like Maria Bella, that performance of like, because she now knows that he is Joey, and she, acts to get the cop out of the house because our family has been through so much. And they have that tumultuous scene on the staircase, which is fucking troubling. And you get that shot of her from behind, her back's all bruised up. But yeah, then he's just like, all right, well, I guess I gotta go sort all this shit out and go kill my brother. So he like you said, he just fucking drives off for God knows how long, shows up in a bar, and oh my God.
Well, so let's back up to that staircase scene as well, which is like, because after the movie was done, Mrs. described it as, that movie was hot. And I was like, okay, all right, okay, I'm intrigued. But it's like, because that's a really interesting scene where, considering all the understatedness and the nature of it, I mean, that's an interesting scene because that's the first time she fucks Joey.
Right.
That's the first time she's ever sleeping with the real person she's been married to for 15 years or whatever it is in this movie. They've got like a 17-year-old kid or something like that. And that is I think, one of the most interesting scenes in the movie of that. And I think they play it out really well, that she's like, she doesn't know him. She's afraid of him. She's also kind of turned on by this idea of this dangerous man. And they have that moment, which is almost like, he's like going for her, but she's like going. It's a really interesting, like, because you say troubling, Ryan, and I understand why you say it, because it's like, because of the nature.
It's a bit assaulty.
It's a bit aggressive.
Little bit.
Right. But then, like, it's on the way it ends is she kind of like, now she's like, no, fuck you.
Yeah.
And,
I almost remember her like slapping him, but no, just him like reaching for her foot as she's going up the stairs. She's like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. It's I think the scene of the movie.
Yeah.
For what it is. Like, it's like, I think that it definitely could be explored more, because there's a lot of character stuff happening in that scene that is quite fascinating. And then there's just that random like next part where she just walks out, like, and she's naked, and like you're not expecting him to be there, and there's almost that kind of that confrontation in that moment that I've just found. There's some real deep shit going on there.
Yeah.
And it's just played out like it's all nuance.
Well, the reveal that she's like in her mind, like she's like, I thought this was the man that I thought I knew this person. And after going through all of that, and the reveal that, everything's been a lie, like he's this violent criminal and who's done horrible, horrible things. She's like, I gotta get the hell out of here. It's crazy.
It is. It's fascinating. But yeah,
it is. It's like there's so much to it. You're right.
There is. It's just, I love that nothing is really sort of handed to us. Like you mentioned that he drives all the way back, and we find out at this point that the big boss mobster, he's his brother. You're like, you didn't really know that until you didn't know it's going to be William Hurt. He's only in the movie for 5 minutes, gets an Oscar nomination or a win as well. Like there's so many. All of these movies have kind of got that.
For this?
Yeah, but the supporting Oscar, yeah. He's only in the movie for like 5 minutes and gets a nomination as well. In the same in the same way, Dennis Hopper. They've all got these same sort of like these overlaps and stuff like that. But yeah, we get that great scene of just the brothers talking, and then it just escalates into Viggo Mortensen kills everybody.
Yeah. Why but he's not like, they paint him as this like murderous psychopath, like for the mob, who is famous for killing people in like horrific ways, like sloppy. Like he's not like a cold killer, like hitman. He's
Mhm.
just a mob goon who's very efficient at killing people, but sloppy, like, and he basically he killed the wrong people, and his brother was in line to become the next boss of Phil, and he kind of fucked that up.
Yeah.
And I love that line. He's like, he's like, you ruined a lot of money for me, Joey. And he's like, you seem to be doing all right. And he looks around. He's like, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Could be doing
because he's in this like insane mansion. And then, yeah, and he did the classic, like, I'm going to spin around in my chair while you take care of him. Just
Right.
like, it goes horribly wrong. The piano
See,
wire, he catches it.
see, that's what I'm saying. Where this felt very very much like pulpy to me. Like
Yeah.
this, it's not in a real world in a sense. It's in this very film noir type world. And that felt like Cronenberg really wanted to make, kind of a classic noir
And
film.
I think it adds to it. It definitely
Yeah.
Yeah.
elevates this to like being unique. We're still talking about it. There's
Yeah.
nothing quite like it. I know I keep bringing up
Mhm.
like Brawl in Cell Block 99. Still, it has that kind of like pulpy, comic booky, schlocky kind
Mhm.
of feel, like a 70s exploitation film almost. Like it just has
Right.
that charm to it, but it's got the polish.
Yeah, it's just original, I guess. You know what I mean? Is it just
Mhm.
you're right, Ryan, is that yeah, it was weird, but yes, we're talking about it.
Yeah.
And it's fascinated us. It's like the way the movie ends is like, so he comes all the way back, and so he's gone to Philly, essentially killing everyone, but I'd say in his mind has now killed Joey again. Because he comes
Mhm.
back and we're at the dinner table and everyone's quiet, and
Mhm.
his daughter kind of hands him the plate, and then his son puts some food on the plate, and that's just kind of like that. No, there's
Yeah.
no more conversation. There's no like wrap it up and put a bow on it, like in and out. It's
Yeah.
just that's
Un-
it. Credits.
Until he gets a phone call from his other brother.
Ah.
And he gets outed as gay.
Oh shit.
Oh, wow. Then the movie gets very silly. Yeah.
Oh man, how do you like continue on being like the implication of just now continuing your life as this family is like, because in her mind she's like, well, I can never leave him. It's like, what am I gonna do? Take the kids and disappear? Joey's gonna come looking. But it's like,
Oh, would he
it-
though? Because he's not Joey, he's Tom. I don't know. It's I like this movie. Like I said, it's such a I'm so glad that we were able to get in because I was so worried that I was going crazy and that maybe I'd watched the movie wrong. 'Cause
no, you're right. It's just something I didn't really notice the first time I watched it because I just was really enjoying it. But again, as we always say, like watching it, through the lens of this, I definitely clocked how odd the dialogue is.
Mhm.
I don't know if it's so much the script or it's how the lines are delivered. And I mean for every single character. I mean,
Yes.
even the two criminals in the very beginning, the dialogue scene that they have together, um, the scenes with the sheriff in the house, just everything about it just felt, there was just some unease to it. I don't know. I think it adds to the charm of the film.
Yeah. I'm actually so I want people like so if you the people that do watch and listen and watch the movies with us, this is one of these ones that I want you guys to reach out to us. Put it in the YouTube comments or on our Facebook page. Find us on Reddit or our Instagram, whatever. I really want to know your take on this because I'm with Ryan. It's like it works. I don't understand why it works, but it works.
And let us know if you're Team Tom or Team Joey.
Yeah. Because I think he's
Absolutely.
Tom. I think Joey is dead. It's the way I don't think Joey is who he is anymore. But I'm
I
exactly.
don't think you can ever kill Joey. Like, I think there's always going to be, there's a little Joey in all of us. Let's just say.
That's right.
So, like I said, all these movies are actually pretty similar while being very different. They've all
It's
got these
wild.
Oscar nominated sort of like supporting actor roles. You've got $30 million for In and Out, budget makes 60 million. History of Violence is exactly the same. $30 million makes 60 million. Hoosiers, $6 million makes 28 million. So they're all getting this sort of return on investment. They're all
That's
smaller
crazy.
movies that have gone through the test of time. Like A History of Violence is a movie people talk about even 20 years later. Hoosiers is regarded as a classic by many, many people, not necessarily us. But In and Out, even, sort of 30 years later, is still like, oh man, that's a sort of like a classic sort of like culty kind of movie. These three Indiana movies have all kind of captured something and in the zeitgeist and held on to it, that I thought that Indiana, like, I love when a state surprises me. Like Indiana, I was like, what? And like, I loved it that when we Googled movies about Indiana, the top 4 answers were Indiana Jones movies.
Yeah.
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 Like, that's not how this works, Google.
I mean,
I still
All
watched
of
all
those-
5 just in preparation.
all of those movies are set in the mind of Indiana.
No, for sure.
Yeah, there we go.
But like, well, I mean, what did you guys think about this week as well? Like, I thought, like, Indiana came out the blocks hard.
Especially after the previous 2 weeks with South and North Dakota, where we were kind of limited with what movies we could pick. And I even posted on our like the subreddit, always see it's so funny. You're like, hey, which movie is the best one of these 3? And people were like, fucking none of these, you Muppets. Like,
yeah, we got a lot of like, why didn't you pick this? A lot of it is like we considered it, but 5 minutes.
If you
of
listen
movie
to the
takes place
episode,
there.
we mentioned it at the end.
Yeah.
Well, there's that. But that said, I still think if I had to pick one of these 3 movies, I think you almost have to go with Hoosiers for it.
I look, Will, your face is right, but at the same time, Ryan is not wrong. I mean, so let's just break it down, right? They all of them hit small town. They all specifically talk Indiana. You've got the small town nature of In and Out, which is how I get the whole like sexual.
But that could be in any small town.
Granted,
History of Violence,
right?
And the same thing with History of Violence. But you're so right that when it comes to Hoosiers, outside of the fact that we now know that means someone from Indiana, is that within the first 10 minutes you knew, because it's neck deep in Indiana. Now look, History of Violence shot in Canada, and you've got In and Out shot in New Jersey and New York. But like Hoosiers, I feel like it feels like they built a time machine. Not only did they go to Indiana, but they went to this time in Indiana. Almost shot it in that way. It just,
and it's based off a true story. Yeah,
exactly. It's a defining story of Indiana as well. It's a famous story. I mean, even when like when they do presidential campaigns, they stop in this place and they get this coach to come out and wave. I mean, that's what I mean. It's so interwoven into this state. I think there is no other movie that I think people in Indiana would say. If you say which movie, they go Hoosiers.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
If you say anything else, you like Get Out.
Yeah. They probably just say Get Out anyway because you're not from there.
Wait, Get Out was shot in Indiana?
Wait, is it too late to pick Get Out? I pick Get Out.
Don't.
So to be honest, this is one of those open and shut cases. This particular week is an open and shut case in that much as that Hoosiers is.
It is the most. It's not the most enjoyable of the 3, but
no.
That's what I was going to say. So while we can say that yes, Hoosiers is the official movie to represent Indiana here at the United States of Movie Podcast, at least up until we watch Hoosiers 2. Hoosian
still
who's your daddy?
Who's your
daddy?
Damn it, that's the one.
There you go. That's from half court. Look.
Yeah.
Granny style.
But it would only be 2 points because there's no 3-point. But that being said, I think of the 3 movies I watched, probably the one I enjoyed the least, even though I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because In and Out was by far the most fun. And like Will said, I laughed and laughed. I laughed during that movie. I felt good watching that.
That fucking tape scene alone should be studied.
Yeah.
So good.
It's adjust yourself. And then
to point out also, I believe we talked about this. the guy who's the voice on the tape is also the guy who does the voiceover in Starship Troopers.
Yes, yeah, we talked
Right?
about
Would you
that.
like to
Yeah.
know more?
Would you like to know more?
Would you like
Right.
to know-
Pretty
Yeah,
cool.
that's awesome.
So like yeah, so that's what I'd
Yeah.
say is that Hoosiers, you win. You are Indiana. But if you're watching and listening to this podcast, which movies to watch, I'd say definitely watch In and Out. Really get into sort of exploring the idea of a history of violence. And then if you're looking for a generic, you've seen it before, kind of sports movie, bang on Hoosiers and watch a great performance by Dennis Hopper.
I am curious to look into the graphic novel. I don't know if it's how short it is or what of the
Hoosiers
history of
graphic
violence.
It's just 75 pages of a basketball
just-
going into it.
Yeah.
Wow, this is amazing.
It's a pop-up book? Cool. I'm in. But no, the graphic novel of history of violence sounds fucking badass if it's, anything.
Yeah.
If it's for Cronenberg to be like, I'm gonna do this. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, look, you can't argue. It's shot in Indiana. It's all about Indiana. Bish bash bosh. It's Indiana. Were there other movies though? Because it wasn't like we ended up with 3 bangers.
Mhm.
But at the same time, when we kind of got into other Indiana movies, there were some random ones in there, like Hard Rain, like that random
Yeah.
action movie.
I almost did it again. I almost said like, oh, that Hard Rain is which
It's
one
the-
is that one?
That's the one with Morgan
Christian
Freeman.
Slater and Morgan Freeman.
Christian Slater.
Oh,
It's
okay. Again,
the-
it's not the Japanese. Okay.
yeah,
it's the
that
bank-
Black
the-
Rain is the
God,
Michael
I
Douglas
do it
Tony
every
Scott.
It's the bank heist during like a flood, right?
yeah, or something.
Yes.
Like
That's
Oh,
a fucking
even-
badass movie. I like that one.
Oh, you should look up the Roger Ebert's review of that movie. He destroys that movie, and it's hilarious.
Now this
Not
is
you
saying
get
I
a lot of
agree or
these
not.
like sports traveling movies that like stop in Indiana, like
Right.
League of Their Own. I was gonna pick Blue Chips, but that's not really set there.
Right.
there's the movie Zombievers,
Sure,
which
That's definitely a movie that exists.
we have to.
we talked about. Will almost picked Turbo, the animated snail movie.
Oh God, I would never pick. I would never pick a DreamWorks
Is A
animated
Christmas Story set in Indiana?
Yes, we did talk about that. A Christmas
Oh.
Story is technically set in Indiana as well, so we could have. I think I'm gonna get you, sucker. Was
Oh no.
movie. Oh hell yeah!
So I think what we did do was we found like by far the 3 best that we could have brought to the table. I think in our return to Indiana, we're going to have to delve into some really random or particularly strange movies.
USS Indianapolis.
I can't wait to get into. I'm gonna get you, sucker.
Oh,
That's
I love it.
hell yes.
So yeah, I am intrigued. I am intrigued to where we get. But I tell you what, Indiana, good for you. Like you've been one of those pleasant surprises for movies, and the fact that we accidentally found such great overlaps with our movies as well. Was
Yeah, that was shocking.
But all right, guys, with only 3 states to go until we get into our international national state championship of the world. To decide which state is the greatest of them all.
Still workshopping a title.
I think that's what I'm still workshopping. I'm going to get it there eventually. But we have only 3 states left to go. We have Montana, Idaho, and Utah. All right. So interestingly enough, now I know that I've heard that Will, you said I think with Montana, we might have a guest. I tell you what, with Utah, we might have a guest as well from right this minute.
Johnny Utah.
Johnny Utah, yeah. So we're going to leave it again up to the magical pen to find out where we're going next week. Like I said, the last 3. Let's see which one. Oh, bang on. Okay, we're going to Idaho. Idaho,
no, Utah.
I know nothing about Idaho, but you know what? Very often I'm getting nicely surprised when we go into these particular states.
Yeah.
So, fellas, get your thinking caps on, which means usually we start Googling Idaho
Immediately.
Yeah.
But from that point on, but outside of that, great choice this week, guys. I had a lot of fun getting into these particular movies. I really, really am eager to see what other people think about that as well. Before we end this episode, though, of course, now is the time to remind you that if you don't already, please do subscribe. Take part, drop us messages. We always do like you guys, especially when you tell us we're wrong. That's quite fun. We know you love Will's meat.
Constantly.
But you can find me as the Englishman in Texas or Ollie Pettigrew on Facebook, where I'm often talking about movies on Monday. Otherwise, I'm usually talking about something to do with Texas. You can find Will as entitled Willennial. He has got a great TikTok as well, where he likes to talk about old movies or movies you probably never heard of. And you can find Ryan and his original designs. You can find some of them have actually been popping up on Twitter. I liked your one for the Bear Buddy. Nice work.
Yes.
Great commission.
Thank you.
So if you want to commission something from Ryan, you can. Rhino Digital, RYNO Digital. You can find him on Threadless, on Etsy, and everywhere else. Apart from that, from Ryan, from Will, from me, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the United States of a Movie Podcast. And we will catch you next time as we head to the state of Idaho.
I like that you had to look down to see what
Double
state.
check. Yeah. Just in case. I was like, yep,
yep.
Idaho. There we go. All right, guys. We'll see you next time.